One of the most successful campaigns I've seen in the last couple of years for American tourism was what Philadelphia did last year, or a couple of years ago, where they made Philadelphia the city of tourism.
Because the Industrial Revolution started in England, the United States was came through the diaspora process. It's really interesting for me to know more about Rhode Island. All of the ethnicities that are here, reflected in food and culture and ways of life.
For days to go to. And I'm less successful. Rhode Island,
his comment was that
one of our major concerns is, I think,
for him.
one of my concerns is associated by the other group is our inability to really it's almost taken time.
I'm wondering if we can now jot down everything we just said so that it's clear, and let's go through and find what our nuggets are. And once we have the significant nuggets, we can go back and have a discussion. So does that work procedurally for folks? But I want to capture just, I'd like you to all capture what you just said, so it's this smart. Just write that down. See if I captured it for you. The diaspora of innovation, the diaspora of culture, and its impact on the story. Is there anything else that I did about?
Continuation of education of all the stakeholders.
Style of what the Italians will call, I remember the gentleman mentioned before, my system is very accurate for the town. I suggest that the state should have, the tourism agency should have a representation from each of our little towns. They meet, let's say, quarterly, and everyone in their town are part of this program where they sell. Even when it comes to objects, to toys, to artifacts, whatever you want to do, handcrafted products, things that are made in those specific towns. It can be one single item. I think, let's say, that pencil should represent this up one item, or attack and so on. Exactly. But again, made in-house, made in town. And then you begin having a roster of different products. Have ceramic shops, and an American tourist or a German tourist come in, and they're looking for specific design, and he doesn't have it. You know what he says? I don't have it, but maybe Leslie has it across the street. In Rhode Island, we will say, we don't have it. I'm not sure you can find it anywhere. This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that we are it's when it comes to mind, we don't think like this. America's been a land based on money. We always try to grab the dollars in the least possible amount of time. We don't think of the long time, you know?
One thing that may or may not know, I thought, jewelry, You should be getting your last idea on the card. And in a moment, we're going to build a collective picture of all the good conversation that occurred at these tables. Now, you're still working? Okay, wrapping it up. We're going to start down there with conditions, then we're going to go to sustainable placemaking, and then the possibility and concerns around sustainable tourism, and then our two wildlife problems. Now, the tablecloths that you have generated will be transcribed. Now, these will not be bullet transcriptions. In fact, what we'll do is we will combine all of this condition discussion into a narrative. We'll combine all of the sustainable placemaking into a narrative from both tables and so forth and so on. There will be very few bullets. You'll actually see sentences. That is the objective. Okay? Sentences. With punctuation as best we can do. Now, also, if there's an image, like over here we've got a little dog, I think. What's that? That's the casino. So that image will find its way into the notes. As best we can. Good. Someone from this condition table and that condition table, join me up here on the board. And your job is just to read out loud what is on the card. These are not report outs. We're not looking for a summary of the conversation. All we are looking for is for you to read the 2, 3, or 4. Most of you have 4 nuggets. And we'll post them up here in cluster. After we've gone through them all, if we have some time, we can discuss this further. But I have to remind you that under orders, I have to have you standing and in motion by 5 minutes to 12. All right? Or Bob will be on my butt for years.
Worse that than that.
Worse? Natalie? Oh. That's much worse.
That's worse. And then Bob will say, that's worse.
Now, Kip Burster is a pro at cafes. I think you've been in more cafes that we've run than anyone I know. Fred, you're probably second in the room. And I think you are second in the room.
Rising oil prices leading to public transit and individual non-car transportation networked with each other and with and to assets. Power of myth to create the future. Storytelling and storytellers with a little sidebar on handhelds. Tapping federal dollars with the new House and Senate. And building regional pools of capability for placemaking to overcome lack of local capability. That was the condition. The condition was a lack of dollars and capability, and we responded to that. You're seeing solutions up here. Tapping federal dollars and building regional pools of capability for placemaking to overcome lack of local capability. And related to that was a need for a statewide unified vision and understanding of sustainable tourism principles, need state level sustainable tourism leadership. So that's that.
You were. This group needed some eggs. like this thing. Just one, but that helps. Okay. That group needed some eggs, but that's okay. Next condition table.
Well, ours are truly just nuggets.
Nuggets are good.
Value versus cost. Now, Martha, if you see any clustering to what's already up there,
Rising prices, maybe, public transit.
What is value versus cost, ma'am?
The cost of visiting a destination versus the value that you receive when you visit it. Is there do we deliver good value for the cost of our destination? Yes. Did I articulate that
does the
well?
cost of visiting equal the value you get? Is that it, Martha?
Yes.
Okay.
In other words, as David articulated, it wasn't about, we don't want to be a low-cost destination, but we want to be able to deliver value for the price that we charge.
Okay, next one.
Technology, the upside and the downside of it. This kept coming up in several, in booking travel, in searching for travel information, and then utilizing technology on our end to deliver our travel product
So it's
to
both-
the end user.
It's both the booking and the delivery
And
of
the
the end
delivering
product.
of it.
Both the booking and the delivery of the end product.
And the knowledge.
And the knowledge.
And the knowledge. And then positioning globally and locally. What is our position globally?
Nicely done.
Thank you, Bob.
And Kim, nicely done.
Knowledge. Okay, now we've got the possibilities and concerns. Possibilities and concerns. Oh, sorry.
What are the elements?
I flipped them. Sorry.
Okay, we have nuggets too. First, I won't say foremost, definitely first, authenticity of place. Another way to say that is we will not be theme parked.
Rob, we will not be theme
Or
parked.
Disneyfied.
Or Disney-fied.
Local ownership of businesses that have an interest in tourism. We will not be harrowed.
I like these little add-ons.
Well-
The next one, Rob, is we will not be harrowed. Like H.
I don't have one for we need a common forum to kick around ideas and help formulate policy. And we need a stewardship SWAT team.
Is that part of this community forum? Common forum?
This could be a part of it, it could be a subcommittee, but it needs to be a group of well-informed people who are prepared to do their homework, do their research, and whenever an issue crops up, or a development crops up, or a project crops up that poses a threat to the authenticity of place, or is against the best interest of the state of Rhode Island, the SWAT team will be in a position to advocate, lobby, or do whatever it takes. Thank you.
Kind of like the casino group. Yeah.
Also, it would be an ongoing, it's not something that's formulated ad hoc. Sorry.
Yep.
No, I think that's related to the regional enforcement capability.
Ah, okay.
Some of the people in this room know that I'm armed and dangerous. One of the things that was written up was that we need to promote our local geotourism heroes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That really is really fun.
So Greg, as you present these, if there is a relationship to anything that's up here, you can create clusters. If not, you can put them up as single items.
One of the key elements is to define a place.
Is it similar to this authenticity of place?
Yes.
I think it is.
And know your story and interpret the story. So this is actually two. I think this
Also related.
It's also
to power
local.
of that.
Yep.
And relevant to the visitors, I guess, what is the message that they
Is that similar to, or separate thought? Separate thought? Great. Thank you. Now we go to possibilities and concerns. Francine, are you the carrier of these ideas?
Go Francine.
The first one, it actually can probably go all the way back to all three. It seems to be a continual theme, developing a unique sense of place.
Okay.
Serious concern, signage and transportation capacity.
Okay.
Local residents, having them buy in. Knowledge by residents of local assets. Resident investment. Celebrate ourselves.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Walter?
Yes, sir. Why do I have to be last all the time?
No, we got two more tables to go.
Two more things. Anybody else? We have, one of our concerns is the parochial state of mind we agreed upon in a state where for 40 years we've been, our major income was manufacturing. We're losing manufacturing. We had to come up with a quick idea, and obviously tourism was the second thing that we developed. So I don't know. What I mean by that is that we all need to come on board and kind of change our state of mind and really evaluate what we have.
Let's like celebrate ourselves.
Oh, right. That's not fair. Identify our heritage. I believe that history sells. I live in a city outside Rome where it seems like every year we find new catacombs, and so where the Italians have learned that history sells. So Rhode Island is a state filled with history and heritage. If you know anything about the state, we know that we have probably some of the best architecture in the country, downtown, not because we had a great architects, but because at the turn of the century, some of the Portuguese and the Italians were great, great masons. Someone suggested our brain table, because it's a small state, we need to take advantage of. Small is beautiful, small is better, different niches of things that we have. I'd like to follow up, which was probably the most refreshing thing for me this morning, the Proloco idea. I've been in Italy and following up on Mr. Turla, right? About the Proloco now, especially Italians have been able to, in a small town like Gubbio in Umbria, where I have a cooking school, 6 different businesses make ceramics. You go to one and you say, do you have this particular design? And you say, I don't have it, but Bob does. This is a state of mind, this change in attitude, and it goes back to point 1 of try to think of business and cooperate. Proloco also means making one single product from each town, and that goes back to the last point, which I think is that the state of Rhode Island should have, under the tourism industry, we should all have one representative from each town, which essentially they meet quarterly, 4 times a year, and they bring to a table ideas that they have. You cannot have a tourism in a state when people in Woonsocket, they're 43 miles away from Wesley, and we think we're going out of town. I know, the most important one, which I think is, and I didn't want to go into the food end because that's really what's dear to me, because I really believe in agriculture and agritourism and people selling food and a lifestyle. I'm a member of the slow food movement, so I know that slow is better, and so to going back in time, it's really advancing yourself. Making the life stop for a second, don't go crazy, chasing the dollars and everything else, but try to give the people something around each other. What we have, I think, is the key. Most of all, our state suffers immensely from the media. The media in the state has 1 major newspaper, 3 television stations, 2 of them are against each other all day long. And our state does not. Our media does not sell our state. very rarely that you are in Arkansas and you read about Providence, but the Providence Journal takes articles from, Associated Press, and they borrow articles about Arkansas. Now, with all the respect for Little Rock, but Providence is Providence. My point is very simple. The media has to believe in what we have and sell and be the major force behind. The last thing is, 2 chefs made the national news in this country from this town. One was George and Joanne from Alforno, and humbly, it was me next in line. And I could tell you that the state has about 30, 40 chefs. They are much better than me, but nobody knows about them. What I mean by that is, if you relate that to, you take food, you relate that to history, you relate that to buildings and to landscape, it's the same thing. Media needs to support us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bravo!
Walter is not just a great chef, he's a great inventor as well. Walter, show me glasses.
Yes, sir. These are they are for sale at the end of the session. Get 10% discount. We get that.
There's a magnet there. Lily, the wild card.
Exactly.
We have no idea what's coming.
We just focused our discussion on sustainability, so we came up with 3 points.
Okay.
The first point is that we should create events that fit the place and cross-market with charity ties.
Okay.
The first one. The second point we came up with is that we find the stories, tell the stories, and involve the community. Last point, create, invest, and maintain pristine environmental quality in cities and towns.
Okay. All right.
I don't know what you're saying. The first point that we came up with
We're
was
way over there. The last section of the last one. And I think you see some connection to the 3 ideas from the other wildcard table. Okay.
We spoke about accenting our uniqueness. We talked about the ocean state, accenting our size, theme, and regional proximity.
Okay. That's actually similar to this idea right here. So I'm just going to pop it over.
We talked about creating awareness and educating locals to be ambassadors. This is where the egg came in. And that means expanding upon Tour Rhode Island-like programs or anything else that we could educate our
Again, that's like getting these residents, the local presentation, moving, etc. Good.
We also talked about Rhode Island versus Texas. And what is meant by that was to retrain the distance brain. We thought it was important to get Rhode Islanders to stop thinking outside that box. And then,
So they don't have to pack their lunch.
correct. It's a small state. We should have
I lived in
or
Newport.
a Dunkin' Donuts.
People used to say, you work off island, upstate. 30 miles.
And this is the reason why we gas price fluctuations.
Good. Thank you. Oil, gas price fluctuation. We actually have 15 minutes. So we can actually pull some additional ideas out of something that's emerged up here, or we can, I know Kip's going to say something, so I'll call him in a sec. But I want to make 2 points up here that are worth picking up on. Walter's point about slow food. Go to slowfood.org, you'll be blown away.
Yeah.
Slowfood.org, blown away. The other is, if you go to another website called, I think it's livingeconomies.org, which is the website of an organization I'm part of called the Business Alliance for Local Living Economies. There are 35 chapters across the United States that are looking at their local places in a more whole way. You know this little number? You have $1. You take your dollar and you go to Walmart. 15 cents of that dollar stays local. 15 cents. Take that same dollar to your favorite hardware store, between 60 and 80 cents stays local. And this is what BALI, the Business Alliance for Local Living Economies, is all about. And I think the conversation that has been occurring here is so aligned with what they're talking about that a lot of you should start to connect into Valley and slow food. Kip?
Yeah, picking up on Walter's idea about media. The Knight Foundation, which was created from the foundation of the Knight Ridder newspapers, has a new initiative that they're going to provide grants outside the original territories of the Knight Ridder newspapers, which until now have been focused on, for new media journalism based on the philosophy of the Knight brothers, which was, get this, that what news is about is telling stories to create community. We should go after that one. And I think the handheld that is both a tourism interpretation device, but a form of news that tells stories to create community, might be a place that we could pilot it here with their money, I think. Just throw that out as a possibility.
Other reflections from what's up on the board, something else?
I just wanted to add to the relevance for visitors. It's also relevance to local populations because many come from many various cultures, so you have to make that relevant. So
and relevant to local population as well.
It's not only the beautiful river, it's the Bonita del Rio.
Right. Susan and then Fred.
Okay, I think we're
some of you I know by name because I know you, so I can call you by name. Sorry if I don't call you by name. My eyes aren't, I'm getting at it, that's good.
There's a wonderful article on Harvard University's website called The Myth of Sustainability, which is all about how we as Americans export our environmental degradation. I think if we're talking about sustainability on a local level, we have to make sure that we're not doing that at the cost of other people. And I think that's where keeping the filter about how local can we get is really important. But I would refer everyone to that article. It's wonderful.
Another egg rod there is how local can we get? You know, I like to define myth as a story that could be true. A story that could be true, because then you're thinking in a different realm. So I always get concerned when people use myth to mean lie. So just my 20 cents. Other thoughts, Fred?
Was one of the local planners in the room, and it was at a couple of the tables that I saw. It was the issue that these places that we all relate to and appreciate the most, the old villages and communities, cannot be created in most towns today because of current zoning laws.
Right.
And that we really need to make a strong push to let people understand that and to visualize that. We're doing a project now with New Commons in Smithfield, and it came out loud and clear that that's what everybody wanted in town. And when you sit there and you tell them, but we can't create that today, and not only that, we can't build on what's there today because it's against the regulations. And it's a major issue that needs to be addressed, but there's a lot of education that needs to take place.
Just adding on the defining the place for all its users. We're not necessarily all visitors, but the users being the government, being the animals that live there, what the natural environment looks like. So when we really talk about defining the place or designing the place for all its users, it means anybody who would use a particular site, from government to small business to it's the interdependence of all the people engaged in place.
Who uses the place? Government, residents, visitors.
Flora and fauna.
Flora and fauna.
So we have to include the coyote regardless of what anybody else says.
Any other thoughts? Kip, another one?
Well, just to build on the comment about zoning, can you have slow food? Is slow food possible in a world of fast development?
Is slow food possible in a world of fast development? Well, if you're Christopher Alexander, you would actually, before you built a building, he's an architect, kind of a wild guy, wrote a pattern language. Oh. He walks the site and feels the land and asks what the land wants to be built there before anything gets built. So Alexander practices slow building. Right. He could spend a year before he even has an idea of the building.
And then it evolves over time.
And it evolves over time.
I don't know if it's represented up there, but the cultural and historic items and amenities and issues that people travel to visit need to be developed and supported and maintained, and their health needs to be maintained.
There's also a slow money movement. Seriously.
Slow cities. Slow cities.
Slow cities. This word slow is becoming pretty interesting.
We could probably, you know, the state of Rhode Island doesn't have to really follow the slow food movement. We could, however, use the word slow. What that means is the city of Orvieto in Italy has been classified as the first slow city. It doesn't mean that people just walk slower. Obviously, you know, New York City will not work, Manhattan will not work. The point of the slow food movement, it started with slow food and it went into slow lifestyle. And this is, I think, where we, in this room, we ought to think about. Slow lifestyle doesn't work when we fall into a, should I say, a society where we consume lunches in 9 minutes, where the majority of the stuff that we eat is either on paper plates, where we chop down trees to make napkins, and then we litter. It's very hard, styrofoam and so on, it's very hard to be part of a slow world when we as a nation consume and create so much trash, as you know. So that takes an entire mentality switch. 9 minutes, and America is the only land in the world who consume, other than the Middle Eastern, handheld food. The Middle Eastern don't use, some of the Middle Eastern culture don't use fork and knives, utensils, especially those in the Muslim world. Americans consume 67% of food by hands. That means we don't use the silverware unless you come and see me. You know, we just
I once worked for a very famous Zen monk for about 5 years, and when he ate, he took the bowl here. I kept saying to him, "But you're a Buddhist. He said, must eat fast." Could never figure that out. Rich, and then Doug.
There was an idea here that connects to value and cost, and I'm not sure it got out any other way, but it connects to technology also, but it's the way in which people visit us in a virtual way through the internet and make decisions based on what they see of our virtual self before they visit our actual self. So we're thinking about placemaking, we need to think about not only our actual placemaking, but our virtual placemaking.
Exactly. Doug, did you have something?
Yeah, building upon some of the previous comments, as an easy way to remember things, I always go back and think about it. An old Iroquois maxim that I once read that said that every major decision you make, you need to look forward 7 generations. And you know, we're talking about how to maintain and sustain things. It's not just the next 5 years. It's a long time ahead.
Maybe we should almost end on that. That seems almost like a place to end. But Susan?
I think that slow food, the understanding of slow food is kind of skewed because we have a very slow food system. First of all, our agricultural system uses more petroleum products than any other industry in the world. And the average food on our table comes from between 1,500 and 2,400 miles away. So would we rather have food that takes 2 weeks to get to us and uses fossil fuels, or that takes 2 hours for Chef Walter to cook? I think those are values that we have to replace.
That we could probably at this time, that we could, obviously food is, for some reason, always history and food to me sells all the time. This is why all of you, every time Dr. Phil says that you should fix your marriage, you flock to Tuscany, you know, because you think that you're going to come back and all your problems are gone. But for some reason it works. But I think that the state has a unique opportunity to do exactly that. Speaking about food, the landscape, the different heritage, different groups who have settled here, we have so much more to offer, and I think if we just kind of put together a plan of attack, I think that we have some serious challenging ahead, but nevertheless very successful.
Just a quick footnote on local food. You drove to Burlington, Vermont today, and right in the downtown on an old dump, is a place called the Intervale, where there are 13 entrepreneurial farmers producing about 8.5% of Burlington's fresh food. It's an amazing little experiment.
It's on a dump, did you say?
It's on a dump. It's on a dump.
And the people doing that, John Todd and Nancy Jack Todd, developed a new Alchemy Institute in Ocean Arcs down at the Cape, which is all about sustainable development and sustainable living. It's a great place for a lot of us to take a look at. If you go to oceanarcsinternational.com, take a look at what they're doing. They moved from the Cape up to the Intervale and developed that with UVM.
Well, Rob, we're right on schedule.
Well, I'm going to get her, she hasn't said a word, so I'm going to just give her
no,
the last word.
Slow food, slow lifestyle, connectedness. It's all, for me, it's finding a sacredness of a place, and a lot of people now seeking that wherever they go now. A sense of the spiritual.
Again, a nice poetic image to leave on.
Well,
Larry,
did I mention I'm a poet? No.
Larry, do you want to add anything?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. So here's the drill. You're all going to walk across the street to the Slater Mill. Natalie is going to lead. Oh, okay.
Is it Natalie and Francine?
Yeah, are going to lead. You're going to go over there for about an hour and a half, right, Larry?
It is. So, yeah, so
1:30.
Be back here at 1:30.
Be back in this room at 1:30, and my colleague Jeffrey and another one of our colleagues, Elizabeth, will be running this afternoon because Rob and I have something else we have to do. But I'll be back at the end of the day.
1:30 in the theater.
Oh, 1:30 at the theater. Sorry.
Can we leave our books and things here?
Absolutely.
Yeah. How about a round of applause for our coordinator? Don't miss lunch. We got a fabulous lunch set up at the Slater Mill.
If you're going to leave your